List view. Hello everyone. So this is the video that we're going to talk about list view. So list view is of course used to show a list of items to the user. Now you can see an example of it in the picture. So for example, you can use a list view in the phone contacts application. You can show phone numbers and names in list view. And of course, the action is when the user clicks a name, the phone calls a selected person. Or you can also use the list view in a message application. You can show the message list in list view. You can give a lot of examples about the use of list view, so I'm not necessarily going to give them all. But the logic here is you will show a list of items in list view, and when the user chooses an item on the list, it will do a particular action. So why don't we just get right to it, get to Android Studio, and we'll see it in practice. So of course, you know that we have a project lurking here that we've been building on, and we'll continue to build this project. But before we start to create a list view, I want to show you what it will look like when we finish. So you can see here, there is a country list. And when the user clicks a country on the list, a toast message will appear, and it will write each country that is selected by the user. So let's see how we can do that. So here we have a constraint layout, and I will add a list view to this layout. And where is list view? Well, it just happens to be under the legacy section. So I'm going to drag and drop this list view. And now we have a list view. So after that, we need to fill in the list view. So we'll need a list of a few items. So what is our list of items? It's country names, that's correct. And I will create an array with country names. Remember, where do I create arrays? I'll create it inside the strings.xml file under the values folder. And I'll open the arrays.xml file. And I created an array with country names before. And because I don't want to take too much of your time, you can do that yourself. And all you do is just write the string array and give a name to your array. And then after that, you'll just write every country name between two item XML codes. Everything you write between two item XML codes will be an item of the array. Okay, I wrote 16 countries names here, and so that means my array has 16 items. And now we have an array and a list view. So we can go to the Java side now. Come on, let's go. So I'll define list view and array on the Java side. I will write here list view, and after that, I need to give a name to this list view. So I'll give it the same name, list view. And also, I need to create and define an array. So I will write here array. And the name of the array would be countries as well. When I add closed brackets after the array name, Android Studio will create an array and its name will be countries. And then I will fill in this array with inside the onCreate method. Now we'll write inside the onCreate method, list view equals find view by ID. And what was the ID of the list view? If you don't remember either, I will go back to the design page and check it. We did not give an ID to this list view. So I will give it list as its ID. And now I can go back to the Java side. So I'll write inside the parenthesis r.id.list. In the second line, countries equals getResources.getStringArray. r.array.countries. And do you see that? We've got an error. Okay, so this is good because we can learn how to solve errors, right? Okay, so what is my error? So I created the array wrong. So I need to define the type of the array. So I will change it to string countries and close brackets. So string is the type of array. Countries is the name of the array. And close brackets creates array. So now the countries array is filled in with the country names. Cool. All right, so now we defined list view and array. So after that, we need to connect this list view and array to each other. How do you do that? Okay, I guess you're relying on me. So we will use the adapter for this. I heard some of you out there thinking it. So what is the adapter? Some of you may remember, some of you may not. So I'll just let you know that the adapter connects a data source and a view to each other. So the data source in this case is array, which is in here. View is list view. And I need to create an adapter. So I'll write here, array adapter, string adapter. And in the onCreate method, adapter equals new array adapter string. And adapter will take 3 parameters. First one is context. That means where this adapter will work. And I'll just write here this. So it will work in this class. Now the second is the list view layout. So I need to define how the items will be seen in the list view. So there are predefined layout designs. So I can choose one of them. And I'll write here android.r.layout.simplelist item 1. And then the third one is the array name. So I'll write here countries. Now because the array name is countries, well, makes sense. And now after that, I need to assign this adapter to the list view. So go in here, list view dot set adapter, and that's it. And the list view is ready and it's full. So we filled in the list view. Let's run it and see it. All right, so the application is open. Now we transferred the country names to the list view. But when I click on an item in the list, nothing happens. It needs to show a toast message with which country I clicked. So we filled in the list view, but we did not define what will happen when the user clicks an item. All right, let's do it right now. So I need to add a listener to the list view. I'll write it here. List view dot set on item click listener. New adapter view dot on item click listener. I'll write my codes inside the on item click method. And I will write here parent dot get item at position. When I click an item on the list, it will return an integer. So if I click on the first item, it will return 0. If I click on the second item, it will return 1. Click on third item, it'll return 3, and so on. So that means it will take the next of the items that I clicked from the list view. So I'll need to convert it to string. So I will add dot to string. And now, So we took the text of the item I clicked and convert it to the string. And after that, I need to assign it to a string container. And I will create a string with its name as country. And now I can create a toast message. So I will write toast.makeText. And the toast message takes 3 parameters, and we talked about that before. The first one is get application context. Second is message. I'll write my message inside the quotation marks. The message is you selected plus country name. So whichever country I choose, it will write first you selected, and then after that, add country name. And then the last parameter is how much time it will stay on the screen. So I'll just write toast.length_long, and then lastly, .show. All right, so now it's ready. So let's run it again. Application opens. So when I click England, it writes in the message, you selected England. And when I click Netherlands, it writes you selected Netherlands. Let's click Germany, and it writes you selected Germany. And I'm sure it'll continue on like that. So that's perfect. That's how list view works in this video. Okay, so it's just the basic use of list view. There are, of course, a lot of ways that you can use list view, but I think it's enough for this level. So go back and practice if you want to. We'll finish up here, and I'll see you in the next video. Recycler view. Hello, everyone. So in this video, we will speak about the recycler view. So recycler view is an advanced model of list view. So as you know, when we spoke about list view in the previous video, we covered most of its basic function. Recycle view is used to show a group of information to the user, like list view. And when the user clicks one of the sort of information groups, recycle view will do a particular action. Okay, so recycler view gives the developer more comfortable, shall we say, working features. You can see it here on the right side picture. This is recycle view. So it'll do an action when the user clicks one of these items. Also, you can do your design in recycle view as well. So the list view shows information from top to bottom. Recycler view can show you information both from top to bottom and from left to right. So let's go to Android Studio and see how to create a recycler view in practice. All right, my friends. So first of all, I want to show you the finished version of the application that I've made with recycler view. So as you can see, here are the country flags in a circular image view. And again, here are the country names and the related flag information. Now, of course, this information is displayed in the recycler view here. So we will also create a card view, and that design will be here as well. So we'll always try to use recycler view in conjunction with card view. And you can increase the number of categories here. So also, when we click on any category, a toast message will be displayed indicating that we clicked on that category. And the final version of our application will look just really similar to this. You might customize it a little bit differently, but it's generally going to look like this. So I'll tell you that recycler view offers us a more flexible operation compared to the list view component. So if you notice, here we can curl the corners of card design. We can leave a space between the cards. We can color the cards. So in general, our recycler view application will kind of look like this. So let's start making our project. So first I'm going to create a new project, click on the File tab in the upper left corner. Click on New Project. And after selecting Empty Activity from the page it opens, I'll just click the Next button. I'll make the name of the project Recycler View Example. But of course, you'll be able to type any name. I'm not looking, I promise. The package name will be, as shown here. I don't want to change the location where the project will be saved, but of course that is up to you. Just remember, and then you can click here. Now the minimum SDK can be API 21. All right, so finally, let's start creating our project by clicking on the Finish button. So our project is currently being created, and you can wait for just a little bit. And sure enough, as you can see, our project has been created. So first, let's go ahead and do the design of our application. So to do that, I'll open the activity main.xml, and we can close the project directory just by clicking the icon here. I choose the Show System UI option. So the design area will look like a phone screen. So now let's delete the XView component here. All right, so I've completely emptied my design area. We'll add in a Recycler View component to the design area. For this, I'll choose a Recycler View component from the palette. And here I have to tell you this. In order to use the Recycler View component, you will need to add the material design library to your project. I'm sure you don't remember, unless maybe you've heard about it, but in previous iterations of Android Studio, we had to manually add this library to the dependencies section in the Gradle build file in the project directory. But with all the new updates, the material design library is now automatically added to the project. And that means that we can just go right ahead and use the Recycler View component directly. Excellent, excellent. So if you see a download button right next to the Recycler View component here, just click on it, and that'll add the material design library required to use the Recycler View component to your project. Otherwise, you won't be able to use the Recycler View component, right? And of course, if you're using the current version of Android Studio, the material design library is automatically added to your project, and you can just use Recycler View component just like we're doing. So now I'll drag the Recycler View component and drop it on the design area. And what do you know? It takes up the entire design area. Since our root element, that is the bottom layout, is the constraint layout, I have to determine the constraint values of the Recycler View component. So for that, I can just pin the Recycler View component up, right, down, left from the layout part in the attribute section. Also make sure that the constraint values remain 0, and that way they'll fill the screen completely. All right, cool. Now let's set the ID of the Recycler View component. I'll write Recycler View to the top ID section. You can specify the ID as you wish. I'll create the ID just by pressing Enter on the keyboard. So actually, this is the design of the main activity. If we want to show some data in the Recycler View component, well, we'll have to make a separate design for that later. Now, as we carry on with our course, we will import this design into the Recycler View with an adapter class. But at this point in the design, it's just going to be a card view, all right? So let's get started making our design. First of all, I have to create a new design file. So for this, I'll select the layout folder under the resource folder from the project directory and right-click with the mouse. And here I'll choose New Layout Resource File options from the drop-down menu. And here we'll just determine a name of the layout design that we will create from the window that opens. Write card design in the file name section here. You can give any name that you want. However, leave the root element as constraint layout. Cool. All right. So I'll press the OK button without changing anything else. And as you can see, a new design file has been created under the layout folder. So whatever design that we want to appear on the screen, we must design it in this layout. Now we can start making our necessary design. We can close the project directory and we'll move the design area a little closer. So first of all, we'll add a card view component to the design area. So if you type card view into the search bar in the palette, you can see the card view component. So what I just explained for the recycler view, that is the material design library, has been added to the project. So it's also valid for card view. And, just to make your study complete, in previous versions, we could use the card view component manually by pressing the download button right here. So if you are working with an older version, that's probably what you're looking at. But now it's automatically implemented in the project. So I'll drag the card view component and drop it in the component tree area this time. And you can drag and drop components into the design area or the component tree area. So as you can see, the card view component took up the entire screen. And if we look at the application once again, we can see the area covered by the card view component. So in other words, the height of the card view component will be just like this. It'll take up this much space on the screen. So we'll set this up in a moment. Now let's add the image view and text view components to the design area. Now, at this point, I got to say that we're not going to directly import components into card view. First of all, we will place a layout inside the card view component. Then we will transfer the components into this layout. You follow? So for this, I'll choose one more constraint layout from the palette and drag and drop it into the card view component. So now let's determine the height of the constraint layout component. I'm setting the layout height value to 75 dp. We must also set the layout height of the card view component to wrap content. Now, as you can see, the height of the card view component is about 75 dp. And another point that you'll need to pay attention to here is you should change the height of the constraint layout component, which is the root element, to wrap content. Otherwise, only one card view component will appear on the entire screen. Right? So after doing all these operations, we can transfer the image view and the text view components to the design area. Notice that there are one image view and two text views in the design area. The image view components are circular, not square. So our images will look a little rounded. So to get this look, we'll need to add a different library to our project. So for this, I'll open my browser and I'll write circle image, view, GitHub in the search bar. I can click on the first result and scroll down the opened GitHub page, and you can see the necessary library to show your images in circular form. So we have to add the library here to our project. I choose a library here, and I'll just copy it. Now I can open the build Gradle file under Gradle scripts in Android Studio from the project directory. So here we'll just paste the library that we copied into the dependencies section. Then after doing this, I can press the Sync Now button in the upper right corner of the interface. That way we'll add the relevant library to our project. Cool. So as you can see, sync is now complete, and we can proceed with our design. All right, so first we can add an image view into the constraint layout component. And of course, this time we'll not select the image view component from the palette. If we select it from the palette, we'll get a square image view instead of a circular view, which is what we're going for. So to add that circle image view, I'm going to select the split option on the right and open the section with the XML codes. So this way I'll create the circle image view component in the innermost constraint layout. After creating the less than sign and typing DE, we can access the circle image view component. Now you can create the circle image view component by selecting this component and changing its related properties. Now there is a second method to do this. On the GitHub page where we've provided the relevant library, you can copy the XML code block here and paste it into the tags of the constraint layout component in the design area. So yeah, that's it. Of course, we did not transfer the images that we will use to our project yet. For now, let's move the country flags to the drawable folder. I'll select the drawable folder in the project directory. After right-clicking with the mouse, I'll select the Show in Explorer option. And from the window that opens, I'll open the drawable folder, not the drawable v24 folder, my friends, only the folder that says drawable. Now I can select the 3 flags that I have previously obtained from the internet and drag them into the drawable folder. All right, so that way we have now transformed the images that we will use to the drawable folder. Now, as you can see, these 3 images have been added to the drawable folder. Cool. You can view the images by double-clicking the mouse. All right, so now let's continue where we left off with the design. I can write the name of any of my images inside of Profile. If you notice, we have determined the height in the constraint layout of the component as 75 dp, but here the height of the image is 96 dp. Therefore, part of the image is not visible on the screen. So what I'll do is I'll change the height and the width of the image to 60 dp. Notice that the components are marked in red because we're using the constraint layout and we haven't pinned the components yet. So we still haven't set their constraint values. If you want, we can determine the constraint values now. So I'll choose the card view component and pin it to the left, right, and up. So now let's pin the circle image view component and pin it to the left. Also, I will center the circle image view component vertically. I'll right-click with the mouse and select Center Vertically. And that way we have now centered the image view component vertically. Notice that the margin start value of the image view component, you see that? It's 0 right on the left of the screen. There it is, 0. Well, I'm going to want to leave some distance here, don't you think? So what I'll do is I'll make the margin start at 5. Now let's add some text view components. I'll select the text view component from the palette and drag it to the component tree. And when you drag the components to the component tree, the components are positioned in the upper left corner of the design area. Cool, so let's pin this. Now let's add the second text view component. So what we'll do is we'll determine the constraint values of the text view components. I'll pin the first text view component to the left. I'll choose the second text view component and pin it to the left. And I'll now select both text view components, right-click with the mouse, select Chains, Create Vertical Chain as my option. Thus, both text views will be connected to each other at equal distances vertically. Since there will be country names in the first text component, I want it to be more specific. Now, the second text view component can remain in the background. Therefore, I'll choose the first text view component. First, I'll determine its ID, and I'll write text view country name. Now, let's increase the text size. So if we do 24 SP, I think that'll be fairly obvious. I'll also make the text color black. So now we can select the second text view component, edit its ID as text view detail. Press enter on the keyboard. Now we can change the text size. I'll just make the text size 16 and I'll not change the text color. So it'll stay that way. And finally, let's change the ID of the image view component. I'll change to image view. All right, my friends, we actually finished our design in general. However, I would like to show you a couple of advantages of using the card view. So we'll select the card view component and just look at the attribute section. Now notice here, the card corner radius feature. All right, so using this feature, you can curl the corners of the card view component, like I mentioned before, maybe. But for example, let me just make this value 7 again. So by using the card elevation feature, you can add height to the card view component. So this feature is also 7 dp. We can also leave some space between each card view on the screen. So for this, let's select the card view component. I'll write margin into the search bar in the attributes section. And I'll make the layout margin value 7 dp. And as you can see, there is some space around the edges of the card view component. That's cool. So after selecting the card view component, we can change the background color just by using the background tint property. You can choose any color that you want to from the color palette here. And if you want, we can choose a yellow color. So yeah, notice here that you can see the gap in the edges and the curvature in the corners of the card view component. All right, so we have completed our card view design. Now, I want to show you one more feature in order to learn how the card view design we made will look in the recycler view. In the activity main design from the attributes section, of course, we must select the recycler view component. Otherwise, we will not find the feature that we're looking for. So after selecting the recycler view component, we can select the card design that we made by using the list item feature. All right, so that way we can see in advance how our card design is going to be displayed on the screen. So when we run the application, our screen will look like this. All right, so we've finished the design section, my friends. We'll take a short break here, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Well, hello, my friends. So in the previous lesson, we completed our design. So we'll do what we'll have to do for coding in this lesson. So I hope you're ready to get started. I'll open up the main activity.java class. Now, first we've got to define the components that we've made. And of course, we will define only the recycler view component in the main activity. We'll define the components that we use in the card design in the adapter class, and we're going to create that shortly. So for this, I'll write private recycler view, and I'm creating an object called recycler view. So now in the onCreate method, I have to match the recycler view with its ID. So for this, I'll write recycler view equals find view by ID. I'll write r.id.recycler view in parentheses, because we gave this ID to the recycler view component in the design area. So also I'll need to determine how the data will appear on the screen. So I've got to determine whether the data will be displayed to the user in horizontal or vertical format. So for this, we can use the recyclerView.setLayoutManager method. Then after writing new in parentheses and press the Control and Space button, we come across many different options. So if you use the Linear Layout Manager method, your data will be displayed to the user in a single column from top to bottom. And in this case, it will be sufficient to just write context in parentheses. Now, if you use the Grid Layout Manager method, your data will be sorted from top to bottom, but you'll also have the chance to specify the number of columns. So you can view your data in 2, 3, or more columns. In this case, you've got to write the context and the number of columns in parentheses. And finally, if you use the staggered grid layout manager method, you will be given a chance to display your data vertically or horizontally besides the number of columns. So in this case, we've got to specify the number of columns and the way the data is displayed in parentheses. All right, my friends, so those are the 3 different methods to display data on the screen. All right. Now, since we will display the data one underneath each other, we'll choose the Linear Layout Manager method. So that means we must write the context parameter in parentheses. So context represents the activity that we are in. That's why I'm writing here main activity.this. Okay. So we defined the recycler view component. Now we need to transfer the country flags, country names, and detail information that we will show on the screen into the arrays. So for this, I'll create 3 array lists. Let's create the first array list. I'll write private array list. I'll create tags by pressing the less than button on the keyboard, and I will create this array for country names, so the type of the array will be string. I'll set the name of the directory as country name list. I'll write equals after typing new. I'll select the array list option by pressing the Control and Space keys on the keyboard. Cool, so now let's create the second array list. I'll create the second array list for detail information. So the type of the array will be string again. I'll set the name of this array to be details list. Now let's create the third array list. I'll create the third array list for country flags. So we'll keep the images inside the array. And the images are kept as integers in Android Studio, so the type of the third array will be integer. I'll set the name of this array as image list. All right, so we defined array lists. Now let's add the necessary information to these array lists. First, I'll add the country names. So for this, I'll write the name of the array, that is the country name list, using the .add method. I'll write United Kingdom in parentheses as a string expression. So that's in double quotation marks. And that way, the first element of the array named country name list, the element with the 0th index, right, becomes United Kingdom. All right, so now let's add my second country name to the array. I'll write Germany in parentheses. And finally, we'll add the third country name to the country name list array. I'll write United States of America in parentheses. So now we created our first array. Let's add the elements of the details list array. So I'm writing details list.add. I'll write a sentence like this. This is the United Kingdom flag in parentheses. Now I'll copy this line of code and paste it twice. I'm writing Germany here. So here I'm writing United States of America. All right. So now let's add the country flags. I'll just type in image list.add. As you can see, we must write an integer type expression inside the parentheses. And like I mentioned before, images are stored as integers, so we should write the position of the image that we will add in parentheses. So our images are in the project directory in the drawable folder within the resource folder. So in brackets, I'll write R, representing the resources folder, then .drawable, and finally the name of the flag in the drawable folder. And then similarly, I can add my other two flags to the image list array. I'll write r.drawable.germany, and then I can add the USA flag. All right, r.drawable.usa. Okay, so we've added all the necessary information to the arrays. So in fact, that's all we'll do in the main activity for now. So we can show these images on the screen. For this, we will need an adapter class. If you remember, we needed an adapter class to use list view. So that means in the next tutorial, we will see the grid view component. And we will create an adapter there as well. All right? So let's just create the adapter class without wasting any more time. So first of all, I just create a new class. For this, I'll select the project package folder and right-click with my mouse, select New and Java class from the pop-up. And now we have to determine the name of the adapter class that we will create. So I'll define the name of the class as recycler adapter. Create my adapter class by pressing the Enter button. And first we'll need to create 3 array lists in the adapter class, just like in the main activity. So with this, I can copy the arrays that we created in main activity, paste it into the adapter class. Now I'll create an object from the context class to use the properties of the activity in this class. So by using the context object, we'll be able to show the toast message on the screen by clicking any of the cards. And now we'll create a constructor for this class. So I'll right-click with a mouse, I'll choose Generate Constructor. I select all variables and click the OK button. So that creates for me the constructor. So we can now delete these sections. We won't add anything to the arrays here. But now we will create an inner class within this class. So this class that we will create will represent the card design, and we will define the components in the card design in this class. So I'm writing public class. I'll set the name of this class to be country view holder. Also, this class will be derived from the recycler view.viewHolder class. But wait, what's this? Android Studio warns us because we need to create a constructor for this class. All right, so for this, I'll just click on the light bulb here on the left, choose Create Constructor, Matching Super option, and boom, just like that, the constructor is created. So now we can define here the image view and text view components that we use in the card view design. First of all, I will create two objects from the text view class. Now I'm creating an object from the image view class. Now we will match the components to their IDs in the constructor. So I'll write text view country name equals, but here we can't do a match directly using the find view by ID method like in the main activity. To be able to use the find view by ID method, we must first access the card design that we created. So we'll make a match just by using the item view object representing the card design. So here I'm writing item view.find view by ID. All right, r.id.text view country name in parentheses. And similarly, I'll match the text view details component with this ID. So I'm writing item view.find view by ID. I write r.id.textView details in parentheses, and that way we finish the process of defining the text view component. Now, similarly, I'll match the image view component with its ID. So I'm writing item view.find view by ID. I write r.id.imageView in parentheses, and that defines the components in card design. So now we'll derive the recycler adapter class we created from the recycler view.adapter class. So inside the tags, I'll write recycler adapter.countryViewHolder. And now, as you can see, Android Studio is warning us again because there are methods that we have to implement. So I'll just click on the light bulb again. Choose Implement Method. And there are three different methods that we have to implement. So we just want to add all three of these. They are indeed required, so now they are added. So I want to talk a little bit more about these methods. The first method is the onCreateViewHolder method. So as soon as the country view holder class that we created below has been created, well, the method gets called. So in this method, we will define the card design that we've made. So it's thanks to this method that we determine which design will be displayed in the recycler view. The second method is the onBindViewHolder method. This method is also a method in which we will specify what should be done when the design is created and then connected to Recycler View. So in other words, we will show the data on the screen in Recycler View using this method. Now the third method, getItemCount. This is the method where we specify the amount of data to be displayed in Recycler View. All right, so now let's finish the necessary options for the onCreateViewHolder method. So first of all, I'll create an object from the View class, and I will transfer the car design into that. So we use the layoutinflator.from method to link a design we created to a view. And now I have to write parent.getContext, and that's going to be in parentheses. Here, the parent object given as a parameter is the object of the view group, that is, main activity. Now you can write here the context object that we created or parent.getContext here. So I write .inflate outside parentheses. Now we'll write 3 parameters in parentheses. The first is the car design that we made. I'll write r.layout.cardDesign. The second parameter is the parent object here. The third parameter will be false. Now finally, because this method will return an object from the CountryViewHolder class, I write return new CountryViewHolder. I'll write the view object in parentheses. Cool. So that finishes that method. Now, let's do what we need to do for the getItemCount method. So we've got 3 countries for this application, but we cannot know this number in more, well, when you make more complex applications. Such as when retrieving data from the internet or working with databases. That's what I'm talking about. So that's why we always write in here the size of the array that we created. So I write country name list.size. Now let's show the data on the screen. In the onBindViewHolder method, I'm going to transfer the data in the arrays to the components. So now let's write the country name in the text view country name. And of course, we won't be able to directly access the text view and image view components from here. That's why we've got to use the holder object here. So I'll write holder.textView countryname.setText method. I'll write country name list.get method in parentheses. Inside the parenthesis, I'll write the variable position given as a parameter. All right, and that way we print the country name in the text view component. So now let's show the detail information on the screen. So I'll write holder.textView detail.setText method. I'll write details list.get method in parentheses. Inside the parenthesis, I'll write the variable position given as a parameter. So finally, we can show the flags on the image view component. I'll write holder.imageview.setImageResource method. I'll write imageList.get, so that's in parentheses. Inside the parenthesis, I'll write the variable position given as a parameter. All right, so finally, we will need to do our necessary steps for the onBindViewHolder method. So for this, we'll need to send the ArrayList object that we created in the main activity to the adapter class. To do this, I will create an object from the Recycler adapter class in the main activity. I'll define the name of this object as adapter. We will now define the adapter class after the ArrayList methods. So I'll write adapter equals new adapter class. So now I've got to write 4 parameters in parentheses because there are 4 parameters in the constructor that we created in the adapter class. So for this, I'll write country name list as the first parameter. I'll write details list as the second parameter. I'll write image list as the third parameter. And I have to write context as a last parameter. So for this, I can write main activity.this as the context. And then finally, I have to set the adapter object in the recycler view. So to do that, I'll write the recyclerView.setAdapter method. I'll write adapter in parentheses, and that will transfer the data from here to the adapter class. All right, so let's run it and test the application. So the application opens, and yeah, so you can see the country flags, country name, and detail information have been created. Yeah, quite successfully. But we do have one last step left. So here, whenever we click on each card view component, we should create a toast message that tells us which category that we clicked. All right. So why don't we just go ahead and do that now? We will create the process of showing the toast message in the recycler adapter class in the onBindView holder method. Because we have defined the card view component here, and we must do all of those operations concerning the card view component from here. So I'll make the necessary coding in the onBindView holder method. First of all, I'll need to define the card view component. And I do this in the card view holder class. Now I will match the card view component with its ID in the constructor. Okay, so I think we haven't set the ID of the card view component, so let's set the ID. So I'll just type in card view. I'll open the adapter class again and match the card view component to its ID. All right, card view equals item view dot find view by ID. I write r.id dot card view in parentheses. Now let's add a click feature to the card view component. All right, holder dot card view dot set on click listener. I'll write new in parentheses, and after leaving a space, I'll select the view.onClickListener method just by pressing the Control and Space keys on the keyboard. Now, lambda is used instead of this method. So if you hover your mouse over the view.onClickListener method here, you will see a description text pops up, right? So from here, if you choose the Replace with Lambda option, you'll actually get a simpler look. Of course, there's really no difference between the two uses. It's just looks a little simpler and cleaner to me. Now, so now we can create our toast message. So first of all, we will determine which card view component was clicked. How do you do that? Well, just use the position parameter here. I'll also create an if-else statement. So if the position parameter is 0, that is, the first card view component is clicked, we can create a toast message. If we choose the Create a New Toast method, after typing toast, it will automatically generate the toast message. So we need one context object to create the toast message, and that's why we created an object from the context class at the very beginning of the adapter class. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to create the toast message, right? All right, so now let's write our message. And now let's create our other situations similarly. If the position parameter is 1, that is, the second card view component is clicked, then we can create a new toast message. If the position parameter is 2, that is, the third card view component gets clicked, we can create a new toast message. All right, so now let's run the application to test it. Application opens. I'll just click on the first card view component. Hey, there you go. Perfect. So we've created the toast message very successfully. So sure enough, my friends, this is how the recycler view component is made and how useful it is. I know perhaps you might be a little confused, but in general, these actions that we do are fixed and they don't really change much. So let me just summarize what we've done here, right? So first of all, you need to add one recycler view component to the main activity.xml design. Then you have to create one card design that you will show on the screen. You must also create an adapter class that connects the design and the recycler view component. And finally, you must define your adapter to the recycler view in the main activity. All right, that's it. It's pretty easy. All right, so why don't we take a short break here, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Grid view. Hello, everyone. Today in this video, we're going to talk about grid view. So grid view shows items in a two-dimensional grid. You can design rows and columns in grid view. It's similar to recycler view and list view. And if you remember, the items are shown from top to bottom in the list view. And the recycler view items are shown from vertical or horizontal. But you can only choose one orientation, right? So in grid view, you can use 2 dimensions to show your items. So you can see a grid view design in the picture here. Now you can also see, hopefully, that items are listed both horizontally and vertically. And you can define the number of columns and rows. So let's go to Android Studio and see it in practice. Of course, there is one more thing before we start. I want to show you what the project looks like. Here we have 9 pictures, and under the pictures are written the names of the pictures. And when I click a picture, a toast message shows which animal I chose. Okay, so this is a 3-column grid view. Now, actually, the purpose of all the views is pretty much the same. The aim is to show data. And when the user selects one of them, it will do something. It will do an action. So every view shows data in a different way. Now you can decide which view you will use according to whatever project or application you're developing. So let's continue to develop the project. I will drag a grid view and drop it into the main activity. And right now I will define some of the features on the XML page. And I will define the number of columns. Now I want 3 columns. Now also I defined here the gravity center. I will give an ID to this grid view. Its ID is grid view. And now we have 3-column grid view. And I will define this grid view in the main activity. And I will just write here grid view. Grid view equals find view by ID r.id.gridView. Great, so now I need to create 2 array lists. Now, these are for pictures and animal names. So I'll just create it in here. The first one is a string array list for the names, and its name is text. The second one is integer array list for images. And its name should be image. So now I'll need to fill in these array lists. I'll do it by creating a new method below. Public void fill array. And I can start to fill it in. Now I will write here text.add, and inside the quotation marks I will write animal names. I have 9 animals, so I will copy this code and paste it 9 times. So now I will fill in the image array. But before I continue, I will need to add images into the project. So I'll open up the drawable folder and paste my picture inside this folder. And now I can continue. And I will copy and paste this code. I'm going to do that 9 times. Okay, so after the arrays are finished being filled in, I will call this method in the main activity. All right, so now the grid view is ready. The arrays are ready. We need to create an adapter class. So for that, I will right-click mainActivity.java and select New Java Class. And I'll name this class Grid Adapter. Now this adapter class will extend the base adapter. And then after that, I will click this lamp to implement the methods. And it will implement 4 methods. Okay, so now we have the getCount method, the getItem method, the getItemID method, as well as the getView method. Great. So before we continue in the adapter class, I'm going to do another thing. So you know that every item in grid view has its own layout. So we need to create this layout first. So I'm going to right-click the layout folder and select New, Layout Resource File. I need to give a name to this layout file. The name could be Grid View Layout. And click OK. Now I need to design this layout. So inside this layout, I need one image view and one text view. I will change the constraint layout to linear layout. And also I will define its orientation as vertical. And I will add an image view. I'll select an image for the default one. And also a text view. And I'm going to continue on the XML side. I will change height and width of the image view to 100 dp. And the width of the text view can be wrap content. Okay, so now you can see how it looks like a design. Okay, so right now I will change the center of gravity of the linear layout. Also, I'll give a padding value. Let's just call it an 1/8. And this will give 8 dp spaces for every side of the layout. So now the layout design is ready, and okay, now I can continue on to the adapter class. So in the adapter class, I'll need to define some variables. First one is context. Second one, I need to define array lists in here too. Okay, so I will copy these array lists and paste them here. And after that, I'll need to create a constructor for this class. And I will right-click here, select Generate Constructor, and select these 3 variables and click OK. Now Android Studio created constructors automatically. And after that, I'll change this return to 0. So you can remember that from the recycler view. If this is 0, the grid view will be empty. So it should be the number of the element. And I'll write here text.size. So it'll return the number of elements of the text array. And it will create a number of the array size from this layout. I'll need to define a view variable. Now, first of all, I'll create an object from the view class. We'll use the layout_inflator.from method to link a design that we created to a view. So I've got to write context in parentheses. And you can write in here the context object that we created, or parent.getContext here. So here the parent object is given as a parameter is the object of the view group, that is the main activity. So I write .inflate outside the parentheses, and we'll write 3 parameters in parentheses, r.layout.gridViewLayout. So this grid view layout is this layout that we defined before. The second parameter is the parent object here. The third parameter will be false. All right. right, and now that that's done, I'll need to define text view and image view here. Text view equals view.find view by ID r.id.text view. Alrighty then, so I have to assign data to these, both of these, text view and image view. So first I will start by assigning text view dot set text dot get position, and I will get data from the text array and set it to the text view. Of course, I'll do the same for image view dot set image resource image dot get position. And then the last one, it should be return view. And the adapter class is ready. All right, so now that that's done, I will create an object of this adapter class in the main activity. So the grid adapter equals new grid adapter, and it will take on 3 parameters. First one is this. Second one is text. Third one is image. Context, text, image. And after that, I will set this adapter to the grid view. Grid view dot set adapter. All right, so it looks easy, right? Well, let's run it and see if it's correct. The application opens, and we have 9 pictures, and under the pictures, it's written the name of the pictures. Now, I want to show you something here. I want to change the size of the text view. So it can be 150 dp. And let's run it again. And all of the pictures are bigger now. See, so we just changed one image view size, and all of the pictures are bigger now. So this grid view has 3 columns. Why don't we change it? I'll just write it here, 2. Let's run it again and see what's changed. And now the grid view has 2 columns. So all of the pictures are not actually seen on the screen, right? But it created a scroll bar automatically. So that means you can scroll it from top to bottom to see the pictures. And now we need to do one more thing. So when we click an item, it should show a toast message, right? So that means I need to add a listener. Now I'll add this listener to the grid view. Grid view dot set on item click listener. New adapter view dot on item click listener. Inside the on item click method, toast dot make text. Get application context. And then after that, I'll just need to write a message. And the message is you selected plus text dot get position. So it'll take the selected item name from the array and then add it to the message, right? And toast dot length long. And lastly, dot show. So let's run it again. All right, so it's working. So when I click an item, it shows the toast message. Now, the important thing is here, even though I click the text, it still shows the toast message, right? So the whole layout has listener. Now, you can use grid view to do great designs in your projects. I'm sure that you can be far more creative than I am. So let's finish this up here, and I will see you in the next video.